What do you say, Jen? One more time for the sweet souvenir.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mackenzie. Welcome to Fan Rank. I am joined by my esteemed colleagues, Andrew and Tim. Guys, if you want to say hello.
Hey, I'm Andrew, writer and voiceover guy, and fellow Marvel fan, like our boy, Martin Scorsese.
Yes, Martin Scorsese here, back to the show. I love Marvel. Got my 3D glasses again. Can't wait for the Marvels. Finally, they need a movie after themselves. I'm Tim. I'm a writer with WatchMojo. And are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?
You talking to me? You talking to me? Well, then who the hell else are you talking? You talking to me?
You are not the only one here. But thank you for joining. Welcome, welcome. So for the last couple of weeks, we have been chatting with our communities on YouTube and across social media to determine what our fans consider the top 10 Martin Scorsese movies, as you may have guessed, which is what we will be revealing here and now. We will also be welcoming a very special guest speaker today, critic extraordinaire, to talk about Scorsese's latest achievement, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Our war hero has arrived.
You made a good choice coming back here.
Just a quick note about criteria before we jump in. We will only for this list be considering films directed by Mr. Scorsese. Thus, Shark Tale will not be included here. But that's the only reason why.
That's such a shame, but next time. Next time.
Maybe next time.
What?
What?
What? Nothing. You said what first?
I didn't say what first. I asked you what.
All right, you guys ready?
Oh yeah, let's dive in.
All right. Coming in at number 10, we have The King of Comedy from 1982. Critically loved, but a total box office bomb when it came out. I think we've seen a resurgence in this movie the last couple of years. What do you guys think about The King of Comedy?
Well, I love that we live in a society where the Joker... Everyone makes jokes that the Joker is just a remake of this, but I think that's really reductive because The King of Comedy is really lightning focused on one man's obsession with the comedian and how that takes him down this dark spiral of no return. And it kind of also challenges like our view on media and perception and how we put these people larger than life, but they're just regular people that want to live their lives. So it's a really great takedown of like how your media obsession can really ruin you. And it still really applies today, I think.
The more scribble the name, the bigger the fame.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the must-watch performances of Robert De Niro's career. And usually he plays these very intimidating, mafioso type characters, many in Martin Scorsese movies. But here he's, although still very dangerous in a different way, he's definitely more of a sniveling kind of pretentious, sycophant, and he completely owns the role from start to finish. I was amazed the first time I saw this, actually fairly recently, that I feel like this movie doesn't get talked about enough. It's super prescient towards today's media landscape, and this was 1982. So, the fact that it's held up is just outstanding.
I'm gonna work 50 times harder, and I'm gonna be 50 times more famous than you.
Then you're gonna have idiots like you playing your life.
That's right.
I totally agree. And while King of Comedy is often cited as one of the main influences on Joker, as Andrew noted, so is Taxi Driver. And I think there's a lot of parallels between these films as they kind of bounce in and out of these kind of dystopian reveries. You're never quite sure what is real, what is fantasy, what is, projection, and what is reality. This is a very complex, I think, character, much like Travis Bickle is. And Scorsese himself has said that this is one of his favorite collaborations between himself and De Niro. I think that shows. I mean, it's a bit of a departure from some of the other things that they did later on, but I think this is an amazing film. I was really excited and a little surprised to see the fans put this at number 10. So, well chosen, everyone.
But look, I figure it this way. Better to be king for a night than schmuck for a lifetime.
All right, moving right along to number 9, we have Gangs of New York from 2002.
Challenge. Challenge accepted.
What do you think?
Yes, this Titanic-sized gangster movie in terms of runtime and scope. I do think this movie has a really great elements to it. I love, of course, Daniel Day-Lewis is fantastic in this entire thing. Leo's quest for revenge is great. It's the reason I like it here is because it's not my favorite Scorsese, because it is really, really long, and I don't think all the characters like Cameron Diaz are particularly used really well in this movie. But there is enough here that for a completionist, definitely watch it. But I think it belongs right here at number 9.
That, my friends, is the minority vote.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with everything you just said. I think this is a movie that definitely shines brightly in very particular aspects from certain performances. From the production design is amazing. They don't really make movies like this anymore. The costuming is fantastic. Technically, this is a great film. I think it does fall short of its potential narratively in terms of characters, and yes, it maybe is a little bit too long. But I mean, when you're talking about, you know, Scorsese, I don't think I've seen a bad movie of his ever, if it exists. And even when this is subpar, it's still a pretty good subpar.
Whoopsie daisy!
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree with all of the sentiments that you guys have mentioned. I agree with all of that criticism. I do think it's worth commending, I think, this dedication to historical accuracy here. The vocal coach for all of the actors who was training them on their accents, I mean, they had no recordings of accents from that period to go off of, obviously. So they were doing in-depth research of reading old ballads and trying to parse out exactly how words would be pronounced, because accents are actually the ways can be a dead giveaway of the identity and loyalty of the characters within the film, who are constantly in these shifting positions of power. So I think this is an enormous movie. I think it's not perfect, but I can see why people identify with it so much. And I think Bill the Butcher is maybe one of the greatest villains ever. Incredible performance, incredible villain. So I think it's well placed at number 9.
Yeah, absolutely. And he cheats you on meat prices. That's what really makes him evil.
That's what really grinds my gears.
Don't you never come in here empty-handed again. You gotta pay for the pleasure of my company.
All right, moving along at number 8, we have Shutter Island from 2009. I have a bit of a soft spot for this movie, but I'm interested to hear what you guys think. Andrew, what?
I don't know if we're doing spoiling any twists for a really old movie. It's over 10 years old at this point. But in any case, what I do like about Shutter Island is it's such a departure. I love Scorsese making gangster movies as much as anyone. But it is nice for him to go towards a thriller, scary movie route. It makes me want him to do a Paranormal Activity just to see what he would do with it. It'd be 5 hours long and to have Leo.
Clock's ticking, my friend. We're running out of time.
It's so suspenseful. The mystery that you follow is so fun, and it's just such a departure from his usual winning formula. So that's what I really love with going back to Shutter Island and just going along for the ride again.
Yeah, this is I think this movie bites off a little more than it can chew. Theatrically, some of the histrionics are pretty out there, but I can't say this is not a fun movie to watch. I think this is probably my favorite of his movies, just to throw on and get lost in the accents and the vibe, in the over the top performances. Some people say the twist is overdone. I think it's pretty good. I think it might be familiar territory, but it's well done. It's well executed. It's believable. And again, yeah, it's not Scorsese firing at all cylinders, but I mean, I don't think that as far as crowd pleasing goes, it gets much better than this movie.
You're smarter than you look, Marshall. That's probably not a good thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think in the hands of a lesser filmmaker, in the hands of a lesser cast, this movie would maybe a little bit fall a little bit flat. But because Scorsese is such a so deeply, I mean, obviously knowledgeable about film history, he's able to kind of wield this tremendous sense of atmosphere, these Hitchcockian twists in characters, these kind of noir-like elements that, even though it feels familiar, there's something almost cozy about it. Even it's very dark, but it's I think it's kind of the best of those elements. And I think it's a lot of fun. It's weird to say a movie that is this dark is fun, but I feel like I can't help but feel that way. I remember seeing this in the theaters when it came out. I always have a bit of a soft spot for it. I think well placed.
What's our next move? You tell me.
Moving right along, at number 7, we have Casino from 1995. Now, I'm curious, guys, is this just Goodfellas set in Las Vegas, or is there more to this movie? And what is it? Because I love it, but I don't think it's that different.
What people would you think I wasn't going to find out?
I don't even know what you're talking about, Nick.
I can't disagree with that. Or say that take is that hot. I mean, you have
Tell me
organized.
I'm wrong.
I won't, because it's a movie where you have organized crime seeping into the glitz and glamour of Las Vegas, and it is fun to see how they got away with this. Some stuff is based in truth, so it's fun how to see how the process breaks down. But I think, again, this is where it does run a little long, and I love the conceit of switching between De Niro and Pesci as your narrators, but I do think they do kind of lose the thread on that sometimes, and I don't know whose story it really is until the end. And I think the relationship takes up a lot more of it than they wanted to.
Hey, don't make a scene, all right?
I want to just talk.
She didn't know who to turn to.
That Irish bitch.
But yeah, so yeah, that's where I think it is a casino-filled Goodfellas.
Yeah, it's definitely hard not to compare them because they came out within 5 years of each other, and they share many of the same actors, many of the same themes.
Same screenwriter.
Screenwriter, and of course, I'm sure Thelma worked on this one too. I mean, I don't think that even though it's not as good, obviously, it's without merit. I think it's still a very well-acted movie. I think if I am going to say where it does better than Goodfellas is it does get a little bit more female representation in there with Sharon Stone's character. And she's great. I mean, as much as she was kind of a sex symbol in the 90s and turned into kind of like, this kitschy, erotic thriller actress. She's great. This got her an Oscar nomination. I think it's well deserved. And I think she balances out. If you're feeling a little De Niro and Pacino'd out in this movie, she definitely balances out. So the trio is very triangle, baby, triangle. So.
Thank you. Very nice.
Told you I was hot today.
Okay, moving right along to our number 6 spot, I'm delighted to announce that we have Killers of the Flower Moon from 2023. And to help us unpack this a little bit, we have WatchMojo writer extraordinaire and film critic Mr. Nick Spake joining us on the show.
Son, I got a question. You like women? That's my weakness.
Nick, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me again.
Of course, always a pleasure, always a delight. So we've landed at number 6 in our fan rank, and we have landed upon Killers of the Flower Moon. Just came out a couple weeks ago. Maybe you could tell us a bit about the film, what you thought, how it fits into Mr. Scorsese's filmography.
Yeah, originally when Scorsese took this on, it was actually going to be all about Jesse Plemons' character and told from his perspective, but through production, they decided to change it around and tell it more from Leo's perspective. And by presenting it through his perspective, I feel that he's created a film that's not only more in his wheelhouse, but it just kind of goes to show that the Osage murders, it wasn't a matter of who did it. It was a matter of who didn't do it. And it makes for one of the most compelling films that he's ever made. And it's definitely worthy of top 10 material.
I was sent down from Washington, D.C. to see about these murders.
So what about him?
See who's doing it.
But what do you think? I know that you saw it too.
I completely agree. I love a villain protagonist, and I feel like Leo carries that really well. I feel like that's an appropriate kind of focus for this story, because it's not so much about pointing fingers and saying them and them and them, but about how like complicity also plays a heavy role in this story. Not, to undermine Leo's character in the film, but I do think that's classic Scorsese. I think it's a very effective way to tell this story. I feel it's in a very fresh way, in a very modern way, and I find that really exciting. Andrew, what were your thoughts?
I agree. The villain protagonist, there is a point in this movie where I was like, okay, maybe he's an unwitting villain. Maybe he's a patsy for everything that's going on. And the reveal that he is not only fully into it, but active in making these murders happen is a fantastic reveal within the story that really changes the relationship and changes the entire way you're looking at the movie and makes you want to go back to the beginning and see it all again and see how when was the moment where he became evil. So I think that is a really great narrative. And the only other one thing I want to say, because I can go on for hours, but Lily Gladstone needs an Oscar yesterday because she as Molly was incredible from the first moment she appeared on screen to her last walk away. Incredible performance.
I need you here.
I am right here.
What did you guys think of the runtime? Oh, sorry, Nick, go ahead.
Oh, actually, I was actually going to bring up the runtime myself, and plenty of discourse surrounding the runtime, but it definitely earns it. And when you look at Scorsese's recent filmography, he's made about 3 or 4 films in a row that had 3-hour plus runtimes. He had Silence, he had The Irishman, and some directors have one epic in them. He just proves that he has one after another, and this might be his best epic overall. I can't say that it's his best film, and apparently our voters agree because we have 5 more, but in terms of the epics that he's made, this might be his masterpiece.
Money flows freely here now. I do love that money, sir.
It really helps you feel lived in the whole, it is a long movie. It's probably the longest I've ever sat in a movie theater before. But, I think that just adds to your empathy with these characters by understanding what their lives are like on both sides of these atrocities. It helps you understand the mindset of these criminals, but also of these victims. I think it justifies the length.
I totally agree. Now, so where do you think Killers of the Flower Moon fits in with Scorsese's filmography? Where is he at in his career right now, do you think, Nick?
Yeah, well, it's actually kind of different from any film he's ever made because he's never really made a Western before. And technically, Killers of the Flower Moon does fall under, the Western umbrella. But at the same time...
Western.
Yeah. It still fits the cloth of Scorsese, telling a story from basically the perspective of a man who's very unsympathetic, and in this case, kind of pathetic, which is also new territory for Leo. And just looking over his collaborations with Scorsese over the years, we've seen Leo play villains in other movies, but not really with Scorsese. And in this case, we not only get to see him play a villain, but one that, at the end of the day, is really kind of a dope when you think about it, and yet still intimidating.
I don't know what you said, but it must have been Indian for handsome devil.
And I do want to say, again, without spoiling too much, the way the ending of the movie turns the mirror back at us, at the audience, I think is really the way they do it and how they do it and the performances there. This is what puts the movie over the top for me as like a must-see of this year and definitely a must-see in his whole filmography.
Yeah, definitely one of the best endings we've ever had in a Scorsese movie.
Stunning.
Can you find the wolves in this picture?
Well, thank you very much for the discussion, Nick. It is always a pleasure having you on the show. Everybody, go check out Killers of the Flower Moon and let us know what you think in the comments. Do you think number 6 is the right place for it? Should it be higher or lower? Let us know. And Nick, thank you again for joining.
Thanks for having me. I'm going to go shave this Scorsese 70s beard now.
Good luck.
I know you must think that I'm, you must think I'm pretty sick or something,
All right, guys, coming in at number 5, we have Raging Bull from 1980. This is one of my favorite Scorsese films. I would have put this in the top 3, but I'm anxious to hear what you guys think. Andrew?
I'm actually surprised it's at 5. I thought it'd be higher.
Yeah.
I think it goes without saying, but Robert De Niro completely becomes Jake LaMotta. It's a complete transformation from the physicality, and I think the number one thing about this movie that is so special is that in every scene, you feel like he's going to explode at any given moment. There's so much tension, and even like, oh, are you ordering food? Why did you tell her to order a cheeseburger? That conversation alone, you're wondering if he's gonna break every window in that room. It's so full of rage, it's so charged, it's so energetic all the way through. And that's not even to mention that the fighting is really brutal and good. And yeah, I'm surprised. I would have gone higher, but this is definitely one of the greats.
Never went down, Ray. You never got me down, Ray.
Yeah, I'm also pleasantly surprised by this ranking. I mean, this is, as much as it's beloved, it's a little bit of a harder watch for cinephiles. It's in black and white. This is not Rocky, so anyone going into the boxing movie thinking that this is going to be a rip-roaring, like, edge-of-your-seat thriller, this is not that. This is a character study about a guy who is a boxer. That is not about boxing per se. And I think, yes, this is definitely, as much as people like Joe Pesci and other supporting characters in the movie are great, this is Robert De Niro's movie, full stop. He deserved his second Oscar for this, absolutely. I mean, the transformation he went through, the dedication he went through to get there, to sell this, and not just in his boxing days, but when they took a break filming just so he can put on weight, and then he has the whole like comedic routine parts of the movie. It's astounding to watch this. Back before Christian Bale was doing this for every other movie, like Robert De Niro perfected this, to the detriment of his health, but it's utterly mesmerizing.
Absolutely. And the vision of this movie, the gritty black and white, the slow motion opening sequence, the use of like classical music, this intercut in the middle of the film with these vivid, colorful home movies. Like, this is such an intimate portrayal of a tragic and honestly quite unsympathetic figure. Not an easy watch, but powerful. I think this is Scorsese at his best. I think this is one of the greatest films ever made, Scorsese and in general. Happy to see it high in the list. I would have put it higher, but that's what we're doing. Love this movie. Incredible.
I'm the boss.
Moving right along, at number 4, we have The Wolf of Wall Street from 2013. And now for something completely different. On the other end of the Scorsese spectrum, Raging Bull and Wolf of Wall Street.
Keep it up for me.
I think this is one of his most popular movies. I'm not surprised to see it this high in the list. What do you guys think about Wolf of Wall Street?
I think this is a great movie that people take the wrong lessons from. I think we love to meme it to death. We love to pull our favorite scenes, to quote it. But underneath all of this is this just careless nature about people's finances and lives, that some of the events in this movie undoubtedly affected at least 1 out of 10 of people directly, and if not more. Because of the way people handled money and treated it like a lottery. And in the background, while they were having fun, lives were collapsing. So as fun as it is, I don't think the movie ever loses sight of that. It's not the feature that people remember the most, but it is so striking that this is how we got where we are as a country financially. and one person just at the center of it just was like, well, that was fun for me. Now I'm going to go sell some pens and be a motivational speaker.
I was just going to say, sell me this pen.
Sell me this pen.
Sell me this pen.
Yeah, I mean, this is excess at its finest, like the 80s were. This is Wall Street on lots of drugs. But I mean, as fun as this movie is, I will say it's a little long. This one I think does feel its length. I think I am exhausted just watching this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it. Well, lots of drugs, but like, but I think that there's a definite thematic underpinning to this movie that people do, miss, like Andrew said, that this is a cautionary tale of just, taking the ball and running with it way too far. And I love that final scene. I think it's speaking of great endings to Scorsese movies, that final scene is unlike the rest of the movie, but it is the whole movie at its core. This is a daunting watch for me to rewatch because it's a lot, but I like to every now and then throw it on.
Yeah, I mean, it's relentless from beginning to end. There is nonstop debauchery, nonstop, like, it's so fast and so rich. There's so much action. It's pretty relentless. I know Jonah Hill was hospitalized with bronchitis from snorting all the vitamin D, crushed up vitamin D pills that they used as a substitute in the films. This movie has a Guinness World Record for the most swear words of any film ever. And I think this kind of excess that Scorsese brings into the picture and into the film in every single second, in every single frame, is really at the core of this story as well, of complete excess and luxury and over the top. And if you think it's too much, then too bad. I mean, that's what they're doing. So I think this is a really fun watch. I do think it maybe does glorify a little bit what's going on. It makes it seem really fun and cool, but it is ultimately a tragic story. I'm not surprised to see this high. Great film.
I changed all these people's lives, and I can change yours too. So come to my seminar. The life of your dreams is only good to see you again, George. You're under arrest. You gotta be joking.
Guys, if you like what you see, if you're enjoying this episode of Fan Rank so far, please let us know in the comments if there are any topics you would like us to cover, and keep an eye on our social media for upcoming announcements about Fan Rank, topics we'll be covering, and ways you can get involved and make your voice heard. Now, if you're ready, let's take a look at what our fans chose as our top 3 Martin Scorsese movies. All right, guys, now before we reveal what the fans chose as our top 3 Martin Scorsese movies, let's take a quick look at our list so far. What do you guys think? What would you change? What does your heart tell you in this moment?
I would change very little. I think the fans did a really wonderful job. I think Killers is so young that I like it higher, but I understand it's so new. It should be there before. Let's digest it a bit. And I might pull up Raging Bull, but that's it. Like, I think this is a really good. These are the ones, I think.
If you win, you win. If you lose, you still win. There's no way you can lose.
Yeah, I'm not really that surprised about the 10, including the ones I think are coming. But I am surprised that King of Comedy, I think 10 years ago that would not have made the rank because it was underseen, but I think it is getting more of an audience, and deservedly so. I would hope that in another 10 years that could be even higher on this list.
Don't tell anyone yet, but you're looking at the new King of Comedy.
Yeah, I had the same feeling. I was like lightly surprised to see it there, not because I don't think it deserves to be, but simply because, like you said, I think 10 years ago, basically nobody was talking about this movie. So we've seen how far it's come. An absolutely stellar, highly recommend if nobody's seen it. I personally, I think Raging Bull should be in the top 3. That's my feeling. And I agree with Andrew as well. We'll see what happens with Killers of the Flower Moon over time. But I think that has all the makings of a modern classic. So we'll see.
Their time is over. We got to take back control of our home.
Okay, you guys ready? You guys ready for top 3?
I don't think so, but let's do it.
Okay, well, too bad. All right, coming in at number 3, we have The Departed from 2006.
I'm sorry, you mispronounced it. It's the
I was just gonna say The Departed.
I'm not American. Yeah, The Departed. Yeah.
There's no R in The Departed. It's an H sound.
What was his name? The Departed.
I, for one, am not surprised to see this high. Endlessly entertaining. I had seen it, of course, several times in the past. I revisited it in preparation for this show. Non-stop entertainment, non-stop action, these kind of overlapping identities and shifting of motivations and relationships and all of this stuff. It reminds me almost of Strangers on a Train in that sense. There's also X's, there's repeated X motif all throughout the film. If you keep an eye for it, you can't miss it. Much like Strangers on the Train, which is also about these shifting identities and these crisscrossing endlessly. Absolutely stellar movie, stellar performances. What do you guys think about seeing this at number 3?
This is one of my favorite movies of all time, like full stop.
Cool.
This is, it's so fun. There's no more perfect cast, I don't think. I think everyone in this movie on the screen a perfect amount of time. Everyone plays their role to a T. I think the cat and mouse game of the undercover detective versus the undercover mobster is so fun. Jack Nicholson is out of this world in this. And what really ties it together is how every time you think you know where it's going, it just hits you with another twist. And just, you don't know who's who. I love this movie. Such a great mystery. And also shout out to its original inspiration, Infernal Affairs.
你们这些卧底可真有意思，老在天台见面。
Yeah, definitely one of the best remakes of all time, but I think it goes deeper than that. I mean, this movie has a personality of its own in its setting, and its characters, and its actors, and its screenplay. It all flows in the same direction. And to that end, I think even more than Shutter Island, this is the perfection of the Scorsese crowd pleaser movie. Because it is fast paced, it is, very engaging, but there's also, dashes of film artistry in this movie. The screenplay is top notch, the story is top notch. This is probably the most rewatchable of his movies. It gets better every time. Great movie. It took a little long for me to win my Oscar, but you know what? I'll take it. I earned it.
I just want to go on record. I'm recommending William Costigan for the Medal of Merit.
The only one to date that he has won himself, wow. I believe, right? Yeah, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I also want to give a shout out quickly to the soundtrack for this movie. This kind of like tango, like guitar, kind of spooky guitar, as they're all like in this limbo, this dangerous tango together. Such a genius move. I love this film. Everybody loves this film. Not surprised to see it at number 3.
One of us had to die. With me, it tends to be the other guy.
So moving right along, at number 2, we have the one and only Taxi Driver from 1976. I love this movie. This was shot, I know, during this intense heat wave and I believe a sanitation strike in New York City in the summer. So there's kind of this, I think that is kind of palpable in the energy of this film, this kind of dystopia of the city. But there is also something extremely, while it's tied to its era in that sense, there's also something I think extremely timeless about the character of Travis Bickle. So what do you guys make of Taxi Driver in 2023?
I think it's so ahead of its time. In one singular way. We have a new movie coming out with like a borderline sociopath, older man, killing a bunch of enemies for revenge, whatever, coming out of retirement, whatever. It floods the market now. If you look back at this movie, it completely deconstructs that idea of how dangerous a man like this would actually be out on the streets, how much you would not want someone like Travis Bickle to exist, and how the fine line between vigilantism and fanaticism is just too risky to let people out like this. So I really think this is a movie that predicted a lot of the trends that we come, that it should definitely be revisited. And again, another ending where I still don't know. Maybe you guys do, because I don't.
I read about you in the papers. How are you?
Oh, it's nothing really. I got over that.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like you said, a movie that is totally relevant today and of its time at the same time. I mean, this was, I think, only 2 years after Watergate. So there was this burgeoning distrust in the government, in the man, and that's personified in Travis Bickle's character and some of his machinations in the movie. I think it's definitely held up over time in a very unnerving sense, that people today still, I mean, speaking of movies that people get the wrong message from, they still idolize Travis Bickle, you know, and his mania. And, you know, certain elements of him are, you know, hyperbolized, but I think that doesn't detract from the movie at all. I think it only makes it more nuanced. And there's so much to take away from this movie.
I just want to go out. I really want to. I got some bad ideas in my head.
Yeah, I agree, and De Niro employed some like kind of classic of his like method acting skills in this one. He got his taxi license and spent his nights kind of driving around the city in this insomniac reverie that I think is, you know, deeply a part of this film. There's this gritty authenticity to it that even, you know, while it's talking about things like the Vietnam War or Watergate, as you mentioned, Tim, which I think is a great point, there is still like those themes of mistrust and being, I think, a younger person kind of lost in a world that they perceive as dirty or immoral, or maybe just on all levels, on the highest levels and maybe the lowest levels. I think that is kind of a timeless idea, but also not one to be worshipped. I think this is a movie where people maybe take away the wrong themes as well, but absolutely brilliant, timeless film. Taxi Driver is amazing. I'm delighted to see it at number 2.
Now I see it clearly. My whole life is pointed in one direction. I see that now. There never has been any choice for me.
Without further ado, if you guys are ready, I'm delighted to announce the fans chose in our number 1 spot, of course, Goodfellas from 1990.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Yes, all my life I've wanted to discuss this movie online.
Let's go, Andrew, take it away.
This is Scorsese perfection. It takes everything you love, a stellar cast that just the lead performances that we'll never forget from this movie, cooking the sauce. Every ingredient in the sauce is perfect and done to a T. Just again, it's how you start off with someone who just wanted to improve their life just a little bit, and then gets so lost and caught up in what that even means that they become the bigger villain and that they couldn't even anticipate. So I think between the performances, another fantastic casting, and just the scene of the sauce. I keep saying it, but it's the best scene in the movie, making the sauce. It deserves number 1 just for that sauce.
Oh, that's the flavor.
I felt they used too many onions, but it was still a very good sauce.
Vinny, don't put too many onions in the sauce.
I didn't put too much onions.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right in that this is just quintessential Martin Scorsese. I mean, it's a reason why I feel like if you were to make a web graphic of all of his films, this would be at the center, and then you can relate them to all of his other films. It's just, it's the perfect formula of actors, of story, of themes. The fact that I didn't win my Oscar for this is a travesty, and it's still being talked about today. Someone track down Kevin Costner and get me my Oscar back.
Akichita, Kehena, Wana Leila Wate, Mala Pishnielo.
But yeah, I mean, I think this is just it's a perfect movie. It's a perfect movie. It's a good fella movie. Perfect. Love it.
It's a good fella of a movie.
You know, we always called each other good fellas. Like you'd say to somebody, you're gonna like this guy, he's all right. He's a good fella, he's one of us.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there is this kind of like punk, almost anarchist intensity to it, with like the long takes and the quick cuts, the freeze frames. Like it's nonstop. There's so much detail packed into every shot. And I think like that kind of mirrors like the journey that the characters are on, where it's so jam-packed, it's so overwhelming, it's so fast. But at the same time, it's like if it's too much for you, too damn bad. I mean, that's what we're doing. Like,
Relax, will you? For crying out, what's getting to you? I'm breaking your balls a little bit, that's all. I'm only kidding with you.
Sometimes you don't sound like you're kidding. You know, there's a lot of people around.
this is a perfect movie. The performances are amazing. It is endlessly quotable. I think all the time about the scene in the restaurant where Joe Pesci is like, oh, yeah, I'm funny. Like, funny how? Like a clown? Like I make you laugh? Like I was reading that was based on an actual interaction that Joe Pesci had with a mobster when he himself was working as a waiter in a restaurant.
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown. I amuse you. I make you laugh.
Just to the core of his being, this this fear a little bit in this moment, this intensity, and so much of the script came from ad-libbing and sessions that they did with all the actors in a room, trying to get a flow for their characters that were later incorporated into the script. I think that authenticity comes through a lot in this film. I agree when you guys say it's a perfect movie. I would put this at number one. Absolutely spectacular. Maybe the greatest gangster movie of all time. Debate amongst yourselves.
If they had been wise guys, I wouldn't have heard a thing. I would have been dead.
All right, so let's take a look at our full list at what the fans chose. Top 10 Martin Scorsese movies. Guys, what are your closing thoughts here? Did they nail it?
This is a marathon I'd watch.
Yes.
Of all the fan ranks, this is the one that I want to go through all of these movies right away. Well done, everyone. I think these are the picks. Maybe Raging Bull, again, could go higher, but that's it. I really think this is it.
I got a nice house. I got 3 great kids. I got a wonderful, beautiful wife. What more can I ask for?
Yeah, I think this is a perfect rank. But if we are talking secret picks, I would like to prop up a movie from his back catalog that I absolutely adore called Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore from 1974, starring Ellen Burstyn. Unlike anything you've ever seen from Martin Scorsese, it is just solely a character drama, very, very grounded, but love that movie. Go watch it if you've never heard of it. You probably haven't, but it's great.
Hey, now you're using your old noggin. Thanks, pal.
Yeah, also I was seeing a lot of love in the comments for Silence and also Mean Streets. The Aviator also came up a lot. Hugo, controversially.
Hugo's great. Love Hugo.
Hugo's great. Okay. So love it or hate it. People were fighting on both sides, but ultimately it didn't get enough votes to crack the top 10. But I think what my biggest takeaway by doing this kind of deep dive into his filmography is just what an artist. And even like he's not afraid to experiment, but when he defaults back to what he knows, ultimately you can just tell that he is a lover of cinema. And however you feel about that, or cinema in the modern age, whether you're wearing a Doctor Strange hat like Andrew, it doesn't matter. But when we're celebrating this great artist, I just think it's worth saying, looking at all of the contributions that he's given to his field. So this is a banger of a film festival. Everybody check it out.
Rupert Pumpkin, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear it for Rupert Pumpkin.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. This was an absolute delight. Please let us know in the comments what you think about this fan-ranked list and how you would rank top 10 Martin Scorsese movies yourself. And please keep an eye on our social media for future announcements about Fan Rank, how you can get involved, and let us know what topics you would like us to cover next. This was an absolute joy. So thank you all very much and take care.
Next time, brother.
Till next time.